Yeah, you messaged me to say get on, and I was like, I am on.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
Um, so
What are you up to this weekend for your bank holiday?
um, I had intended to have a quiet one, not really do a whole lot,
What?
huh?
How did the quiet one turn out?
I got pretty drunk with Laura and her mum and stepdad yesterday, and
Good job.
we were up until midnight, maybe half midnight, and
Wow, you're on the phone with me until midnight. You're trying to go to sleep at 11:30, so don't make it sound like you were doing that much.
I mean, we went out to the pub and got the drunkenness, and then came back and hung out in the kitchen and stuff.
Hold the phone steady. My God, that's so annoying.
What is?
Well, I can hear you moving it, and your face is all over the camera. Just hold it steady.
Okay.
Perfect. So do you want? Guess what I tried to do this morning?
What did you try and do?
Do they have like DraftKings or FanDuel or anything over there?
No, I don't know what those are.
So they're like daily fantasy sports. So instead of doing like a full fantasy league
Mm-hmm.
of something where you have to do a full like a full 38 game Premier League season, a full 82 basketball season,
Yeah.
you can like every time there's a game on or there's a few games on, like on a Saturday or something, you can do it's like a daily fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So you draft all of your players, and then the results from that week count, and you get paid out at the end of that week, pretty much.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a pretty legit setup. And so I've done it before. Um, I did it a couple years ago, and I had like pretty decent success on it. I made like $40 or $50 on it, and then just over time, like unless you withdraw the money, you just end up spending it all, gambling it back into what you were doing. Um, so I wanted to do it again because the NFL season's about to start back up, and blah 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 blah. Um, so I wanted to put some more money on it. And whenever I tried to do it yesterday, it wouldn't let me do it. The transaction wouldn't go through. I was only trying to put $10 on, and it wouldn't go through. It was like, oh, weird. So I emailed DraftKings and was like, "Hey, what's up? Why can I not give you my money?" Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Oh, the issue is not on our end. It's coming from your bank." It's like,
Oh.
what? Yeah. So I called the bank this morning. I was like, "Yo, I wanna spend my money in a place. Why can't I do it?" And they said, "Well, is it online gambling?" I was like, "Yes, it is." So, oh, the bank doesn't allow that.
What?
I was like, how? Wait, what? It's like, yeah, it's one of our policies. I was like, okay, well, that's fine. How do we make that not one of your policies? How can I do this? You can't. Well, I've done it before. Well, then that was a glitch in the system. But we don't we don't accept online gambling as part of our accounts. How in the world can somebody tell you how to spend your money?
Yeah, that's weird. That doesn't sound like it would be legal.
Well, I Googled it. I was like, this, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Though. This is ridiculous. I can spend my money wherever. I can spend it on guns and fast food for all I get. Like,
It's,
it's none of your business where I spend my money. Like, it's not losing you money.
yeah.
So I Googled it, and apparently it's pretty common. Like, it's not. Bank of America is the second biggest bank in the United States, and they don't let you do it. But like, Visa is pretty hard on it. There's other banks are also pretty hard on it.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, how in the hell are you supposed to do this then? It's like, well, you can do this via another banking institution, or you can do it like you have to go buy a gift card. Like I'd have to go to Walmart or something and buy a Visa gift card, and then use that credit to put on this thing.
That's
How
nuts.
ridiculous is that? How ridiculous is that?
That's really weird.
So you can't gambling in Texas. You can't gamble in Texas anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're going through all kinds of different legislation at the moment to try and figure out is it is is fantasy sports really gambling because you can be pretty good at it. Like it's not complete chance or luck and risk. Um, but so it's for the time being, it's legal, but it's going through all these different legal battles.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so like if you want to, there's no casinos in Texas. Like if you want to go gamble anywhere, you have to leave the state of Texas.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a. I don't understand how you can do things like ban gambling because that's of a detriment to people, but we're all for guns in your supermarket.
I know. I know. I don't understand.
That seems crazy.
Yeah. So, but if you want a subscription to Pornhub, I'm sure that'd be all right. Like, what's if I don't understand?
You really want that on the
Difference does it
podcast?
make? I mean, I don't have a subscription to Pornhub. I'm just assuming Bank of America would let you have a subscription to that. Is it hot in here, or is it just me?
Oh man.
So, what else have you been up to this weekend?
Not a whole lot, really. We went. I don't know why, but Laura, like, we're both really excited about being able to get a house. So we drove past. There's a big company over here called Sofology, and they do like huge, expensive, called Sofology, and it's just big, expensive sofas. So we spent a little bit of time walking around their showroom, idolizing things that we definitely can't afford, especially with the fact that we don't have a home to put it in right now.
You know how I feel about phenomenal couches, though. So
I do indeed. You do have a very comfortable couch.
I fell asleep on it on Friday night. No particular reason at all.
I just fell asleep on Laura's sofa downstairs.
Solid work.
I'm really. I woke up at about quarter to 6 this morning, maybe, and I just couldn't get back. I mean, I was dying anyway. I was really dehydrated, and I felt kind of gross. So I just stayed up and drank a bunch of water. But I'm so tired now.
That's weird that you felt that way after pouring out half of an undrank beer last night.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, you jackass.
I specifically remember you saying I can either be a wet tonight or I could feel grotty in the morning. And I would definitely. Yeah, you said that last night, and then you said I'd definitely rather be a wet tonight. Turns out you were a wet last night, and you also still feel grotty. So,
in my defense, I think I had. It's not going to sound that much. I had like 5 or 6 pints.
it doesn't sound like that much.
But I didn't really eat either. All day.
Yeah.
Shut up. Just because I'm not. Why were you up at 2 o'clock in the morning replying to Dad's text messages? By the way.
Well, I was watching. Have you seen that movie Kingsman?
Mm-hmm.
So I found it in a bargain bucket at Walmart a couple of weeks ago, and I watched that, and I started watching that at like 11ish, maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, that's not true. I got finished watching it at about 11:30, and then there was a UFC card. I was like, oh, see what's going on with this, and I fell pretty far behind it, so I could just fast forward through all of the commercials and everything. So I only really saw the fight. By the time I got done with that, it was one of those like, oh, I didn't even realize what time it was. And it was 1:20 by the time I was finished watching it. And I also devoured an entire packet of Chunky Chips Ahoy last night.
Is that a lot? Oh, that's not that bad.
It was 22 cookies.
All right, that's pretty good.
In a single sitting.
Good work.
Yeah. I washed it down with a cherry Coke.
Oh, that sounds delightful. It sounds like every dream.
Yeah, I've become a cookie snob now, though. I remember being in college and those Chips Ahoy cookies were just the cream of the crop. And I got about 11 or 12 deep, and I was like, these are good.
Do you remember when you used to go through Maryland cookies for fun?
Saturday morning, yes, I do. Yeah. It's actually a funny story. So I was on the way back there's this thing at the church last night that I went to, and then on the way back, I was like, you know what I haven't done in forever is eat a ton of cookies with cherry Coke. So I was driving down the street, and as I'm driving down, there's a man walking with traffic. It's one lane. It's a road, but both one lane on either side. with no sidewalk. There's like a grassy ditch on the side, no street lights, pitch black, and this guy's wearing all black. And it's 10 o'clock at night. And I mean, the road that he's walking on is 2.5 miles long. So I'm driving by, and bear in mind I've just gotten out of church. So I was like, well, first of all, I'm going to go get my cookies and my drink. And I turned around, and I was like, I'll see if he needs a ride. So I turned back around, and he'd gotten pretty far. And the time it took me to buy some cookies and a drink, he'd gotten pretty far. And so I pulled over right next to him. I was like, hey, do you need a ride? And he like walked up to next to me, and as soon as he looked in, I was like, oh, this might have been a mistake. He's like this fully bearded, like he's wearing a sleeveless shirt, and he's wearing Crocs also. Nice. And I can smell him through the window. He smells of cigarette smoke through the window, and I'm like, it's my mistake. He's like, it's all right. I'm just going to League City. Don't worry about it. And so I was in two minds at this part because A, he told me don't worry about it, so it might not have been that big of a deal. But B, League City was away.
League City is how far?
Like, it's what?
How far away is it?
About 9 miles.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So come on, jump in. So he got in the car, and I ended up driving home. He actually lived like right across the street from where I got my haircut. So it wasn't, I mean, I knew almost exactly where we were. So I dropped him off, and then at the end of it, he was like, yeah, look, there's not a lot of people in the world like you. You seem to be a rare breed, so here's something. And he started reaching to his wallet, and I was like, no, I didn't. That's not why I did it. Don't worry about that. And I could see in his wallet, and there was just a bunch of ones and fives, and I was like, yeah, I mean, don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then he, like, there's like two pockets inside of a wallet.
Mm-hmm.
He like moved that to the side, and there was a wad of 20s in there. I was like,
shit.
All right, fine. Like, I'm not going to be rude to $20. But no, I didn't really say it. I was like, you really don't need to do it. I didn't. That's not why I did it at all. He's like, no, like I insist, take it. So he gave that to me, and then on the way home, I drove past a homeless guy, and I gave it to him. I was like, there you go.
Oh, that's a good day's work. Well done. 2
birds with one stone.
So I was debating doing a very similar thing. Like, I've always thought it would be a really nice gesture and like something that would make me feel good to just like the amount of times that when I lived in Wales and it was raining and it was cold and it was gross and I didn't have a car, that people would drive by me and be like, do you know what? I wouldn't kill one of you assholes to just. So now I drive past people in the driving rain, but I drive through Salford to get out of work. So like I drove past. And this is how, like, so clearly I want to do it, but I don't want to do it that bad. So I drove past, like, a huge dude by himself with his hoodie up. And I was like, nope, could jack my car. And then I drove
Nobody
past.
could jack your women's hairdresser's car.
Shut up. So I drove past and I was like, nope, bad choice. And then I drove past someone else. And they were drenched wet through. And rather than be like, oh, he's definitely a candidate, I was like, he's going to get my car soaking wet. No. So, and then after that, I was already starting to think, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not that good a person. And I drove past a dad and his little boy, and I was like, don't have enough room for two. Just carried on going. No, definitely not a good person. I just think I am.
You should do it though. Like he and I actually had a pretty good talk because he was saying. So the crux of it is, and I mean, nobody knows him, so I can tell everybody his personal story. But so I live right next to a hospital. And so he was walking back from the hospital because he apparently had just gotten into it with his alcoholic mother and his sister. And was like, you know what? Fuck y'all. And he's like, I'm going to walk home. And I was like, well, whenever I picked him up, and I was like, so what are you walking down a dark street in the middle of the night for? And he's like, it's a long story. I was like, it's a woman, huh? He's like, well, my mom, my sister. I was like, two, shoot.
Oh, no.
But yeah, he was saying that his dad died in December, and his mum took it really hard, and she's like really started drinking. Like he's having to pick her up off the floor, kind of drinking. And so I mean, he's 37, 3 kids of his own, married with 3 kids of his own, and he's trying to figure out how to like take care of his mom. And he's saying that what's ended up happening is that he's having to do all like the nitty gritty work that his dad used to have to do for her, and his sister just kind of swoops in, does all the glamorous stuff, and takes all the glory for it, pretty much. He's like, so I'm in the hospital today, and I just kind of went into a rage, and I lost it. And I since before his dad died, he's like, since before he died, I've been driving a truck of his. So I drove it over there, and it ends up being that I need to give it to her tonight. And instead of giving it to her and her giving me a ride home, I was like, you know what, just freaking keep it, blah, 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 blah. And kind of got into it. And then he's like, you know what, I'm going to call my wife. I'm going to tell her I'm going to be late. And I'm walking home. Like, there's a I mean, I've made similar walks. Like I've gotten into it with people. Like, you know what, I'll walk. Well, Ben, it's 6 miles. Well, then I'll jog. I don't care. I remember being at the bank with Noelle, and Nora's in the back seat. She was tiny. Nora's tiny at this point. We're at the bank, and Noelle's in the front seat. I was like, all right, buckle up, and then we'll get going. She's like, I don't want to wear my seatbelt. Like, well, sorry, you have to wear your seatbelt. Buckle up, and we'll get going. She's like, then just go. I was like, no, put your seatbelt on. I'm trying to save your life. Put your seatbelt on. No. Yes, put your seatbelt on. Ben, you're being stupid. Just drive. I'm thinking about you, and I'm thinking about your daughter who could potentially be brought up without a mother. Put your seatbelt on. No. On yourself, because I'm not driving you. I'm not going to be responsible for you dying. So I took the keys out of the ignition, threw them in, like under the pedals, and I got out and I started walking. And I'm in sweatpants. Huh?
You would have called, like, I used to do stuff like that to you, and you'd be like, don't be such a dramatic bitch.
For sure. But you know how annoying that woman is. So I'm like wearing sweatpants and a hoodie because it was like 9 o'clock in the morning, and we just woke up and headed over there because we needed to do something. And so it's like, it was probably a 4 or 5 mile run, but it's like 98 degrees. It's like, oh, no. So I'm like I'm just jogging home at this point. I was like, well, I mean, at least it'll be a workout, whatever. It's fine. And then I got about a mile in, and Noelle's mom was driving past, and she honked at me, and she saw me. She gave me a ride home. Like,
hi. That's super awkward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how she knew. I guess Noelle called her and told her or something, but she took me back. But,
I did something kind of similar, not to an argument point, but I had a couple of interviews in Manchester. A couple of interviews with 2 interviews with recruiters and just one an actual job interview. It was when we've had this like scorching weather over here. So I was going I'm going to an interview. I went fully suited up, and they were like, so I mean, you can push the time back if you want. I was like, no, I should be able to make it in for that time. And I didn't want to drive in because the parking's expensive. So I was like, I'll just get the Met in and then walk. And I got there, and I am dripping sweat. This is really backfired. Something terrible. I tried to go for professional, and now I look like I've got nervous flop sweat. Like I look gross, just showing up like. Yeah, no, it's lovely to meet you. I wouldn't shake my hand. It's very damp right now. Yeah, that's
not. You don't feel good. Like you have to feel a certain sense of comfort being interviewed as well. So I bet that one probably didn't go very well.
I mean, when I got up and left a sweaty back mark in his seat, no, it didn't feel great, to be honest.
Gross. Good job, man.
Did I tell you about I went for a job at a company called Allied London that build a lot of the new high rises in Manchester.
Right.
and they were like, we're going to give you a 15-minute test before you have your interview. And I was like, oh, shit. I'm terrible at maths. And I'm not that far
Good
through
job
my...
you're an accountant, isn't it?
Huh?
Good job you're an accountant.
Well, I mean, you can do everything with a calculator, or at least they were like, no calculators. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And like, I didn't have Excel. Okay, cool. And the recruitment agent was the one that was running it, so he was like, so you can sit in here. It's 50. You get 15 minutes to do it, but no calculators and no materials. And then he looked at me and he was like, I mean, there's no cameras in here, and you do whatever you feel like you need to do. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I took my phone out and I started working away. And I can only assume that I got them wrong anyway because they didn't want me. But I had to text Laura to work out one question, which I thought was really taking the piss. And then I got to the last question. And so the other ones are like, not common sense, but they're math. Like, you wouldn't have to be an accountant to work them out. They're just maths-based questions. The only accounting question is like, draw up the T account for this transaction. Left it blank. And I went into the interview and sat down, and I was like, They were like, so what would you say your weaknesses were?
Accounting.
I really drew a blank, and I was like, I mean, I don't know, if I feel like I'm getting on someone's nerves, like I don't like to ask a question over and over, and it probably is to a detriment of my learning. And they're like, okay, sure, one more. I'm like, I really can't. And at this point, I imagine they're thinking, this guy's a dick. Just name one flaw. It's not difficult. And they were like, oh. And after a while, the woman was like, well, how about like maybe a hole in your studies? I was like, oh yeah, sure. I didn't even answer one of the questions on your test.
Is that what you said? Very good.
So the feedback I got from that interview would have been perfect, just not quite technically there.
Brilliant.
So I was sweaty and uneducated for that interview. Absolutely crushed it.
Moron.
And then the company that like offered me a job, the first interview that I went for, I woke up late that morning and I was like, I have to get in good time because I need to be able to leave to get to this interview without anyone knowing that that's where I'm going anyway. So I get up, I only have one shirt ironed, I put my shirt on, bend my elbow, rip my elbow straight through my shirt.
What do you do this? You told me about you ripping elbows in shirts. I don't know how you do that.
I don't know, I've done it to like 3 separate shirts now.
I've got shirts that I've had for like 4 or 5 years, and I don't even come close to ripping through the elbow of them.
Yeah, I mean, I need to buy better shirts, clearly. So I put my elbow through the shirt, and I was like, I don't have time to iron another one. I'll just wear my jacket. And again, it is boiling hot. So I get to the interview, and I'm waiting in the reception, like, do you want a cup of tea? And I was like, can I have like a pint of water, please? So I'm just chugging this pint of water, and the lady comes out to interview, and she's like, oh, it's a warm day today. I can't believe you're in that jacket. And I was like, yep, just need to look professional.
This is how I like to dress.
That, and my clothes are ripped right now, and I don't want to seem like a hobo.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was a wonder that I did so well in the interview process. Also, I forgot to tell you, and it was the most awkward thing of, like, I'm pretty sure I was mocked, but very professionally in this interview.
Nice.
So, the second interview was me, the person I would be working for, the person currently temping in the role, and then the recruitment manager for the company. And this woman was absolutely ruthless. With like, she would answer a question, and then she would ask, and I would answer, and then no response, just right into the next one. I was saying, okay, shit, she doesn't like me. But she asked me what I would get from the company. So I answered, and I was kind of like, I mean, I had to say I and for myself and stuff like that a lot because it was asking me personally about the question. And then she was like,
always questions to answer.
huh?
Those are always, I hate having to talk about myself in interviews. Like, exactly. What do you think about? Everything. Yeah, it's such an awkward thing to ask.
Yeah. But so I answered that, and then she was like, okay, and now that you've answered that, what would the company get from you? And I answered it in a way that I thought like continue to sell myself. She just cut me short, and she was like, "You've already told us plenty about yourself. I mean, at this point, you're just talking about yourself." I was like, "Oh shit. Okay, I'm sorry."
No.
I'm
Wait,
like, "How
what were
many
you saying?
you? Huh?"
What were you saying?
Well, I was like, because she said, "What would the company get from me?" And I was like, "I mean, hardworking, driven, educated." And she was like, "Stop talking about yourself." I was like, "You just asked."
Boring. Didn't ask for your life story.
Yeah, pretty much. So I finished
Wait, so
talking.
what were you expecting the answer to be?
I had no. So this is the thing. So I finished talking, and again, no response. Went right into the next. Oh, someone else asked a question, and then she had the goal to be like, "So just going back to that other question because you didn't really answer it at all." It's like, would you let it go?
Oh,
So
what a
I
jerk.
genuinely, yeah, I genuinely like. I don't know if it's the right professional thing to do or whatever, but I was like, okay, give me a minute. Let me really think about this. So I gave her a different answer, and she was like, "Fine."
Did you say that?
Uh,
Give me a minute. Let me think about this.
yeah.
Solid.
Uh, and then I had another another question when they were like, okay, so will you get a lot of people because we work in kind of like a manufacturing business and we're right next to the manufacturing floor. You'll get a lot of people that kind of maybe don't have really the office vibe about them, and they yell and they shout and they demand things because they don't understand how like the hierarchy works. And it's like, okay, so say something that comes across your desk and they need you to approve it, and you have one for 50,000, one for 100,000, and one for 500,000. They haven't done any of the right paperwork, but their boss is telling them they needed it done yesterday. What do you do? And I must have given every available answer as my own, and I was like, I mean, I could approve it, or I could not improve it. It all depends. just really, just really covered all the areas. Uh, and and then afterwards, they were like, "Do you have any questions for us?" And straight away, I was like, "What was the right answer to that question?"
What was the right answer to the question?
He was like, "I think you answered it perfectly. That is exactly what I would have said." And I was like, "Really? You would have said everything?"
You would have just appeased your boss. Oh.
So but I mean, they said I was just the standout candidate, and like I was the unanimous decision when they offered me that job. So I don't know what kind of retards showed up. I mean, they must have been super sway that showed up after me.
They must have had no shirts on, let alone a rip.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my
Intro
interview process.
all your CV and your resume and everything.
What?
You have to update your resume and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't done that in a long time. I should probably do it. I mean, it's not really. It's just kind of little updates. I mean, I'm new jobs, but I just hate the process of submitting resumes and all that stuff. It's such a joke.
I mean, I think it would be way worse if I didn't already have a job and I was like rushed about looking for one. But because I was kind of not half-arsing it, but like I had something to fall back on already. It wasn't stressful. It wasn't worrying. I kind of enjoyed the process, to be honest. It just felt like other companies wanted me, and it was nice to be looked for.
I was going to say, how did you find those companies to apply to?
So I put my CV up on a job board, and one recruitment agency got in contact and kind of went through what I might want, and then found out the Allied London job for me. And this other woman from the manufacturing company was just she'd asked, like she'd been brought in specifically to recruit for that role, and she just found my CV online. But that job would have been crazy busy. It would have been difficult.
But you would have made a lot more money.
Yes, but I don't think I would have enjoyed working there at all.
That's a hard decision to make.
Oh, it's the conversation I had. So I'm assuming I'm not going to share this on Facebook, and don't tag me in it because I'll talk about the interviews and the stuff, the process that I went through to get this promotion at work. So I had gone to interview with Landis for the second interview, this other company, and I was expecting them to give me a certain salary, and then I went into the interview for this promotion at work, and they had offered me a lower salary. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna lie. So I was like, I have another offer on the table, and they've offered me more. And I was like, at this point, I was like, I really hope this fucking offer comes through. um, so I said that, and they're like, okay, well, I mean, we'll go away and we'll think about that. We need to kind of call the FD because he's on holiday right now, but we'll call him and come back to you.
FD, financial director.
Yeah. I was like, okay, sure, that sounds good. And apparently, according to one of them, the two guys that interviewed me, both stood up and were like, I mean, he's not asked for that much more. It's totally reasonable. I think we should discuss it at least. And I don't really think there'll be any problem with it. They called the FD, who's a scouser, and he is tight with money. Like he's renowned for being very skimpy with his salaries to finance. And they called him, and they pulled me back into the interview a day and a half later. And they were like, so we've had a word with the FD, and we won't be able to meet what you've asked for. But and they said, but like they had changed the offer. They gave me the exact same offer, and I was like, that hasn't even moved a little bit. Like I could get 4 grand more at another company, and I'm asking you to move little, and you're not going to move. And they're like, no, no, we're not. And so the person that is in the role before me, I know what her salary is because I have access to the rates file for when we charge out all of our time and stuff because that's part of my job role. So I had seen her salary not because I went looking for it, just because I had seen it. And I mentioned that in the interview, and I was like, "Look, I know what the salary is of this person, and it's I would never ask for that because I'm not qualified. I'm not asking for that salary. I'm just asking for kind of for what I think I'm worth." So that when they brought me back in, the guy was like, "We think it was really unprofessional of you to be looking through people's salaries and trying to use that as leverage." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "I wasn't." I just said I wasn't. If I was trying to use it for leverage, I was doing a terrible job because I wasn't asking for that amount of money. Like I wasn't using it for leverage. I was giving you a fair understanding of the fact that I'm not being unreasonable. I'm being very candid in what I'm asking for. And their reason for not giving me what I wanted, and they did this, they told me someone else's salary to leverage me down, and they were like, "So someone else in the business makes this. We can't tell you who, but that's the reason that we can't pay you because for continuity reasons, it would kick up a storm." And I was like, "So you can bargain me down, but I can't bargain me up, and I'm unprofessional." And they've taken my access away from that file now.
Wow.
Yeah, and so essentially he told me I'm not qualified, I'm unprofessional for asking for that salary, and I shouldn't be looking through people's salaries. And he wouldn't let me speak. So the more he would kept talking over me, the angrier and the angrier I got. And eventually, I just like pretty much yelled at him. And I was like, I'll be honest, I think the respect that you're asking me to have for this company, you're not showing me even a little bit. And I think you're being really rude in the way that you're talking about it too. And he was like,
Oh,
no, no, I'm not. And he was a total douche about it. So I was like, all right, cool. So I got up and left. And I went to, and the annoying thing was they didn't try and sell me on their company. They didn't try and kind of talk me and be like, the role will be really good for you because of this. They essentially just tried to scare me from moving anywhere. They were like, so I mean, whatever company you go to, it won't be like this. There's very few companies like this. And I was like, stop trying to talk me out of it. So I spoke to another guy who wasn't in this conversation, who was much more reasonable and that I would be working for.
right.
Like honestly, I thought they would have just given you the salary. There's no reason for them not to. Um, so I pulled him in and I was like, why should I take the job and not the one with the higher salary? And he started to do it again, and he started to say, I'm sure whatever company you're going to go to. And I was like, no, no, stop trying to talk me out of other companies. That's a tactic. Tell me why I should stay here. Talk me into staying here. And he kind of reasonably conversed it with me and whatever else. I was like, all right, fine. It is a smarter decision because the other company wasn't sturdy right now, so it would have been a bad move. So I went back in and I called the other guy over and I was like, can I just go back in this meeting room with you? And he's like, yep, sure, absolutely. And straight away, he started trying to like unravel everything he'd said because apparently he knew full and well that the first conversation we had hadn't gone well and he thought I was going to leave. And
Oh,
yeah, and I was like, Chris, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm not having the conversation we just had because it made me mad, and I want you to know that it made me mad, and I'm not going to be okay with it for a while. It's going to take me a minute to get over because you wound me up seriously. And he started to try and talk again. I was like, Chris, stop trying to talk to me. I'm going to take the job and I'm excited. Yeah, to some degree, yeah.
ballsy play, Jimbo.
And I was like, just stop trying to talk and have the same conversation because it's just going to make me mad again. I'm really excited to take the role and I want to take the role. And he had this like shocked and happy look on his face, and he was like, "Oh, I really thought you weren't going to." And I was like, "I could see why you would think that, yeah." But they were just going to let me go. They weren't
What
going
an
to try.
idiot.
Yeah, they really like so the only reason I'm staying with them now is because on my CV it looks like I've stayed at the same company. Um, Whereas if I'd moved to another company and didn't like that job, it would look on my CV like I was job hopping.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
I can take this role, get some more experience, have them pay for a few more exams, and then leave in like 6 to 8 months. I don't owe them anything anymore. I'm just going to use them now.
6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
What are the chances that you're actually done with your qualification in 6 to 8 months?
Oh, nowhere near. But I'll be more qualified, and a lot of roles advertise for part qualified, which means you are a certain way through, and I'm not that like so I can be the certain way through. Uh,
Interesting.
but the salary jump that I just missed out on because like, for keeping this job, the next time I go looking, once I'm a little more qualified and I have a little more service time, my pay jump will be bigger anyway. So it's not the end of the world.
I mean, that's
But
crazy that you felt confident enough to get on your boss like that.
well, I mean, I wouldn't usually do it, and I was really, I mean, everyone's no one likes talking about salary, and I was really nervous about it. But I just thought they were being disrespectful because they didn't move an inch, and I was like, clear, like, so to not take me, you're gonna have to go out to market, recruit, which is going to cost you about 6 grand. Find someone, train them on all the systems, probably train them on a lot of stuff that I already know. So it's going to take you longer. It's going to be more expensive. So even just on the fact that it's going to save you money now, you won't move an inch because you think you can just deal with me like that. That really pissed me off. So I was like, all right, fine. You're not. If you don't treat me right, I'm not going to treat you right anymore. So we just started talking at him like he wasn't my manager. It was probably not the best idea, but at the end of the day, I'm
I was
not.
going to say, you work for somebody different now.
Pardon.
You work for somebody different now.
Oh, that was the guy I'm going to be. So my time is going to be split across that guy and another guy in this new role.
Interesting.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I don't think he's going to think any less of me, but at least he knows now that he has to have a certain level of. Because I think
Yeah, that's true. I like that. I like that you did
he
that.
kind of
I think
gives.
it's a power play.
Yeah, I think he's trying to like kind of give me the role, and he wants me to be like, "Oh, I'm so gracious." Like, no, I own the role. Like, I could do the role. I'm not. You're not doing me a favor. You're giving me a job I deserve. So he's
Yeah,
treating me like I should be some kind of kid, and I'm trying to let him know that
yeah,
he
that's
needs to treat me like I
yeah,
own the job.
that's what bugs me. I feel like, so obviously there are other people in the group that I work in that have kids, and I mean a lot of them are older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Nora would be the youngest kid in the group. There's a girl who's like 8 months pregnant, who's about to have a baby, but he's 31 or 32 maybe. But I think the next youngest kid after Nora is like a 10 or 11 year old, and her mom is like 37 maybe.
Okay.
So like obviously, I mean, I've always been a young dad, like I knew that,
Yeah.
but my not just my boss, but like management in general talks to me like I have no idea how to. Even like some of the older mothers in my group that, bear in mind, haven't had a 4 year old in like 20 years. Um, they talk to me like I'm an idiot. I'm a child raising a child. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it your way at all.
No.
Like there's one lady who's like, oh yeah, if my baby did that to me, I would have smacked her. I was like, well, she was 6 months old when she did that. She's like, so, like, well, I'm not gonna smack a 6 month old baby, am I? Really? And it drives me nuts that they treat me like a child.
Yeah. For sure. I think it's just one of those things, isn't it? Until the next kind of rung of young people below you comes in, that's just how you get treated.
Yeah,
But
I guess so. Yeah,
just gotta
you need
let
an
them
intern.
know.
Yeah, Yep. That's the problem with work. Sometimes with working for a big company, though, sometimes it feels like I need them more than they need me. Like
Oh,
there's 50. If my job opened up, there'd be 50 applicants for it if it was available. You know,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
but it's just yeah. The
How
sooner I can make a living out of podcasting, the better.
how long is this call?
We're about done, I think.
Okay, that's perfect. Because I
We
think
didn't
10
even
minutes.
touch on your trip to Lincolnshire with the lads.
I mean, not that much funny stuff happened. It was a
Tons of gay stuff happened, though, wasn't
it wasn't a lot, just some.
it? And by some, I mean like not three fingers of bum. There was like one or two.
Is it even gay if you don't remember? Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It is. Yeah. All right. Anyway, I will catch up with you a little bit later on.
deal.
Okay.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.